Legends is insanely toxic. Teamwork, anonymity, and 40-minute matches breed frustration, and Riot knows this. They've worked on punishing usage of slurs, added mute buttons, hid the names of teammates in champion select, and even axed the bait ping to curb toxicity. But while chat flames get silenced, a darker problem festers. Gameplay sabotage. Soft inting, giving up on games, or deliberate throws are very commonly seen in games. These silent trolls ruin matches without typing a word and go unpunished. Riot's system punishes words fiercely, but lets toxic actions slide. Today, we will explore how Riot fought to control toxicity, and why it's so hard to punish toxic gameplay, which has made League of Legends become a toxic mess. Over the years, Riot has built a comprehensive toolkit aimed at silencing verbal abuse, focused on measures that only tackle chat-based toxicity. In the early years of the game, their work to battle toxicity revolved around a player-based system called the Tribunal that existed from 2011 until 2014. The Tribunal was a community-driven, disciplinary system introduced by Riot Games to address toxic behavior in League of Legends. It allowed players to review reported cases of misconduct. Reviewers were presented with chat logs, game statistics, and report details to determine whether to punish or pardon the accused player. Punishable offences include hate speech, intentional feeding, and offensive summoner names. Based on the majority verdict, punishments ranged from warnings to permanent bans, with more severe cases reviewed manually by Riot's player support team. Despite its innovative approach, the Tribunal was disabled in early 2014. The system was slow and inefficient in nature, and it had issues with accuracy, particularly due to natural human biases. Since 2014, Riot has transitioned to automated systems capable of issuing penalties within minutes, with more constant enforcement of punishments. Riot has introduced many tools to combat toxicity. Most commonly used is the /mute or /full mute command, which allows players to mute individuals or everyone in the game, teammates and opponents' chat and pings to totally block out any communication in an instant. A newer tool is the /deafen command that prevents you from chatting and will also stop you from seeing text from other players, but also notifies other players on your team that you are deafened. These options are very controversial, since players sometimes go full mute or deafen at the beginning, upon making a mistake, or to restrict themselves from flaming, and in essence block out their whole team. This means they cannot listen to pings to communicate, cannot make calls or coordinate plays, and it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the game, which revolves around 5 players working together to win. Riot also introduced champion select anonymity in ranked solo duo, replacing summoner names with neutral camp aliases, Gromp, Raptor, Scuttlecrab, and so on. This was implemented with the idea that players cannot search the names of the players on sites like op.gg and see their win rate, if they're on a losing streak, if they're auto-filled, or if they're just first timing a champion. In essence, it eliminated the option to prejudge players based on past performances. Another tool is Riot's instant feedback system, which scans chat logs and hands out rapid penalties, up to 14-day bans for hate speech, slurs, and other severe violations, often issuing chat or ranked restrictions within minutes of a match. This swift automated enforcement has driven a noticeable decline in visible slurs and abusive language, but it applies only to typed offences, leaving disruptive in-game actions unaddressed. The Honor system was a smart design by Riot to reward positive behaviour by granting loot, hextech chests, even passes, and the season's victorious skin depending on if you have a certain level of honour. And if you get chat restricted once, it knocks you down several tiers, locking you out of loot or other free perks. But it's not been rare to see a player who's been soft inting, not trying, and ruining games still be at Honor 5. While this solution is effective to an extent, this approach does nothing to deter players who silently troll, and they can still reach and maintain high honor levels as long as they never type an offensive word. In addition to punitive measures, Riot has made symbolic adjustments intended to curb misuse of in-game tools. For example, the bait ping was removed entirely after players weaponized it to mock and antagonize teammates. If someone misplayed, players would question mark ping them, but with the new bait ping, which looked like a hook, it was used to bully people for their mistake, signaling them to hang themselves. Riot's arsenal of chat-focused tools, full muting commands, ping restrictions, rapid chat bans for slurs, honor-gated rewards, and even champion select anonymity has succeeded in silencing visible flame, but it's left players trapped in a silent battlefield where the true threat goes unnoticed, teammates who quietly sabotage matches through their actions rather than their words. With the easy option to mute or disable all communication, verbal abuse has been driven underground, yet muted trolls can still grieve objectives, feed kills, play isolated, and stall games for 30 to 40 minutes, all without so much as a single offending message. Riot's anti-toxicity measures have created a quiet chat window but failed to curb the most destructive form of toxicity, silent gameplay sabotage that no mute button can stop. This silent sabotage often takes the form of soft inting, subtle, deliberate misplays that fly under the radar. A player might accidentally dive under enemy towers, wander the map without joining fights, ignore crucial objectives as if they didn't matter, and refuse to help teammates altogether. On the surface, it looks like a bad match, but when it happens again and again, every 3 games or even worse, 10, 20 games in a row, it reveals a pattern of willful grief. Detecting soft inting is a nightmare for automated systems built to flag hateful language or blatant AFK behavior. How do you tell if a 0-15 Yasuo was just having the worst game of his life or intentionally feeding to ruin his team's climb? How can you prove that the jungler got frustrated early and decided to grief your lane, smite your cannon and steal your waves? Riot's instant feedback system and reporting tools aren't equipped for this grey area, so most soft inting players sail through unpunished, continuing to spread frustration with every silent misstep. You could not mute this kind of behavior, you could not play around it, and if frustration you write to them in the chat, there's a bigger chance of you getting punished for typing instead of them for inting.
I'm addicted!
In reality, most would rather endure a toxic flamer who they can just mute than be stuck with a silent saboteur for 40 minutes. But why are these issues so hard to combat, and what makes League of Legends not only frustrating to play sometimes, but insanely toxic as well? League of Legends' very design and community culture lay the groundwork for toxicity by demanding long, team-reliant commitments. Average matches stretch over 35 minutes, where you're tied with 4 other individuals and everyone depends on each other, which means a single disruptive player can ruin an entire game and spark toxicity. Losing such a substantial time investment to a teammate who intentionally ruins games can be mentally draining, plunging players into an emotional state known to every gamer as tilt. Players tilt when a 50-50 play goes south, or when their teammate does not do what you expect them or need them to do. So, expectedly, the fact that you have to play and coordinate with 4 other strangers, all with unique playstyles, ideas and short calls, can make games feel disjointed and frustrating. And while this mechanic of coordination between 5 random players is where a lot of the appeal for the game comes from, it is also a place where most of the frustration from the game emerges. This frustration sometimes translates into what is known as surrender mentality. This mentality in essence is when games go south early. Players give up and want to surrender so they don't get stuck into unwinnable games. While surrender can be a useful escape for players stuck in hopeless situations, its low threshold and ease of use have fostered a toxic mindset. Instead of rallying for a comeback, many prefer to cut their losses, in which they even flame the player who would like to try and win and not give up, and the players who wish to fight on feel pressured to give up when faced with even minor setbacks. Riot has worked hard to combat this kind of behavior. Within their more recent updates, they said that they will introduce an improved detection algorithm which will scan for disruptive gameplay patterns, such as repeated 0-10 scores, consistent AFK split pushing, and suspicious objective neglect, and automatically flag accounts for review. Second, Riot introduced transparency notifications, letting players know when and who of the ones they reported has received a penalty. Despite these ideas, many players question whether these tools can reliably distinguish genuine bad luck from intentional trolling. Can an automated system avoid banning someone who truly had a rough day? But that is truly a problem that cannot be really detected to 100% accuracy by any system, as there isn't and there cannot be clear benchmarks for intent. The risk is still there that the system may either overpunish honest mistakes or underpunish calculated sabotage. But it's a step in the right direction, as these changes not only promote bigger transparency, it also informs the League community that Riot is aware and is also working to combat the silent sabotages. League of Legends has long been plagued by toxicity, whether it's the players who flame in chat or the silent saboteurs. The game has struggled throughout the years with this issue. While Riot Games has made strides in curbing overt verbal abuse, the more insidious issue of gameplay sabotage remains inadequately addressed. To restore faith and ensure a fair gaming environment, Riot must take decisive steps. It has to establish clear criteria and define and publicly share the standards used to identify and penalize gameplay sabotage. They may have to implement hardware IP bans for repeat offenders, and not ban just the account, but the player altogether. While the idea of you getting notified which player was banned from your report is great, Riot can take things further by providing some kind of transparency reports, monthly or quarterly reports detailing the number of actions taken against gameplay offenses, which will maybe show the players that their reports and their voices matter. While it's unrealistic to expect Riot to eliminate all instances of trolling, soft inting, and other forms of sabotage, proactive measures can significantly mitigate their impact. With transparent detection methods, stricter repeat offender penalties, and regular public reports, Riot can begin to restore trust and improve the league experience. These steps will not only deter disruptive behavior, but also reassure players that their concerns are being addressed, contributing to a more enjoyable experience for the entire community. League's toxicity isn't just about words. It's about 40 minutes of your life being wasted by a troll Riot refuses to ban. Players often wonder, if they can detect a slur in seconds, why can't they detect 10 games of running it down mid? And it's a valid question, and until they fix this, League will remain a toxic mess, and players will keep quitting.